One of my favorite characters in your book is Alexander Vlasov, the forensic pathologist. And he's one of my favorites because he represents what I think of as a kind of peculiarly Russian form of dissident, which, and there have been outright to the barricades dissidents too, but he's the kind of dissident who sort of calculates how far he can go, occasionally goes a little too far and gets his fingers burned, backs off, but doesn't give up. Talk a little about Vlasov.
This is he was a forensic scientist in the Soviet period. How are you doing? Because we know you have to.
No. It's just at some point.
He's a fundraiser tonight.
I want to leave a little room for people to ask questions.
But yeah, Vlasov was one of the true joys of being in Chelyabinsk, and I probably left his office, an apartment, more drunk than sober, if I have to admit it. A devotee of champagne, of good champagne, and. But he had been a forensic scientist, and when the Russian economy or Soviet Union broke apart and whatever, he and his wife, a doctor, were making the equivalent of $10 a month, and they couldn't live on it. It was very simple. So he became a funeral director, and the first and only one in Chelyabinsk, and he was very good at it, and was very successful, and the government and the local governor and mayor of Chelyabinsk, and then the governor, whatever, finally demanded more and more and more and more bribes, and he finally said no, and his deputy was shot on his way out of the funeral business. And so Vlasov eventually went back to become the first, and for a long time, the only independent forensics expert in Russia. You'd think, given the Putin courts, and this was in the Putin era, that not exactly something that was going to, where there was going to be a huge demand, but eventually judges actually began to call on him. Now, politically sensitive cases, no way he can have any effect. He tried. When kids were killed in the military, young men were killed in the military because of the brutal hazing, he investigated those cases very successfully. And if there had been an open court system, he would have won. But the authorities came to him and said, don't go any further. And and the judges were also told, don't go any further. So, but there are places where he can make his mark, and he continues, and just an extraordinary guy. But I keep asking him, why don't you? He's gone through, he's been imprisoned, he's been, he's gone up and down as you note, and I asked him finally, why don't you leave? You've got a lot of money somehow, still. And he just went, I'm too Russian, and I'm too old, and that's it.